Good morning. Welcome to this hybrid meeting of the Civic Licensing Committee. I would remind all attendees that this meeting is being recorded and webcast live on the Council's YouTube channel. I would remind all remote attendees to mute their microphones when not speaking unless they wish to speak, and they should do so by raising their hands remotely. Can I also remind remote members attending hybrid meetings where quasi-judicial matters are being considered that they will not be permitted to participate by audio only and must have their video and camera functions switched on at all times. Thank you. We'll start with item 1, apologies for absence.
Yes, Convener, there's apologies from Councillor Craig Fotheringham. Today we have Councillors Durno, Councillors Gavin Nicholl and Councillors Jill Scott joining us remotely for the meeting, and the rest of the members are in the chamber.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest and statements of transparency.
Yeah, thanks, Convener. I have a declaration of interest for item 7. I've had a previous conversation about the application and I will leave the meeting for that item.
Stuart.
Thanks, Convener. Declaration, it's actually a statement of transparency. I am a private hire operator and I also hold a taxi driver's badge. So I need to declare an interest in firstly, item 12, report 34724. I'm chairman of a registered charity, so that would obviously, that's what it's about, that report. And item 13, 341/24 is regarding taxis, and item 14 as well, 342/24. So I will take no part in the discussion and leave the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Councillor Durno.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I've got a declaration of interest on Appendix 1, report number 343/24 with applicant for 5 years. So I will actually leave the meeting when you're talking about the applicant. Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat what item that was, Councillor Durno?
It's on our green papers, which is on Appendix 1, report number 343/24.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
No one else, no? Okay.
I think it's 342.
I think she must mean 342.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, Councillor Durno. I think you might maybe mean report number 342, and that'll be 14A, application 14A. Yeah.
You're on mute, Councillor Durno.
Sorry, I must have read it wrongly, but the clerk knows which one it is anyway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Move on to Councillor item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Are we agreed, or meetings, sorry, are we agreed that these 3 sets of minutes? Councillor Whiteside.
Yeah, I actually emailed my apologies for both those meetings on the 16th of September as I was on holiday, but they're not recorded in the minutes.
Thank you for that clarification. Anyone else? With that, they are agreed with those amendments. Item 4, exclusion of public and press. The committee to note that the public and press will be excluded from the meeting during consideration of items 13 and 14, so as to avoid disclosing confidential information in terms of section 50A brackets 2 and brackets 3 brackets B to Local Government Scotland Act 1973. Moving on to item 5, delegated approvals. This is at page 12 of your papers. Members will have had a chance to review the delegated approvals. Do we agree to note? Moving to item 6, page 16 of your papers. And this is deferred short-term lets applications, beginning with Woodside House Arbroath. And a note that we have, excuse me if I pronounce it wrong, Nandor Marsin online. Thank you. Would you like to talk to your application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just very glad to report that we are nearly there. We nearly completed every recommendation. There was one particular issue regarding the emergency lighting, and especially in the context of a significant interior, listed interior, a Victorian interior, regarding the downstairs hallway. And on this occasion, I really would like to thank your planning officer, Mr. Ben Freeman, after the previous council meeting to help us guiding through the implications of all of that. So through that, we made progress and decided that the best way forward was to look a formal application to listing building consent regarding this. This is in progress, and I just heard 2 days ago from the planning, and we are in conversation. So what I was requesting is that while this only outstanding item is being considered further, although we have a nice solution for this, I was going to ask for either a deferral or, as I expect that this will be completed to the satisfaction of fire safety and rescue in the coming weeks, potentially for a delegated action after their approval.
Thank you very much for that. We note that there is a request here for a deferral. Given that this relates to a fire proposal, that sounds like a very good request in my opinion. I don't know if the members have any questions or comments on that. No? Councillor Scott.
I was just going to agree with you, Convener, that I think that's a good way forward. Thank you.
Okay, if I've made the proposal, you second, are there any other comments on it? No? Okay. I think we've agreed unanimously that we will grant it's deferred until the next meeting.
Thank you,
okay?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move now to B. Let me catch up. Which is North Lodge and Gardens Cottage, Deuchars Forfar, J. Farquharson and Sons. And we have Clark Ferguson, is that right? Farquharson, sorry, attending person. Okay, Mr. Farquharson, would you like to talk to your application?
So I'm just applying for put the mic on. So I'm applying for a holiday let licence for 2 properties at Deuchar. The water test was an issue last time I applied, but it's been tested and come back. It's all passed, so I think we're good to go.
Can we just check this out with environmental health? Are we happy with everything's been done? Martin?
Thank you, Convener. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we're content the water now complies with the standards set down in the regs.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Any comments? No? Councillor Whiteside.
I think now that everything's in order, I would move that we grant.
Yep.
Councillor Braze is second.
Sorry, Councillor Brace seconding. I'll move to the recommendations just to check what they are. They're on page 16, I believe, aren't they? Yeah, recommendation 1, to grant the application. 2, grant the application subject to standard or additional conditions, or refuse the application one or more of the grounds referred to in paragraph 5. We've had a proposal and a seconder. Are there any amendments to that?
Can I just confirm which of them? Is it 1 or 2? Is it subject to the standard conditions?
Councillor Braze, is it number 1 or 2 to grant the application, or 2 to grant the application subject to standard conditions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, so that's recommendation 2. Are we all agreed? Agreed. Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. Been granted. Moves us to item C. Sorry for the delay, but I've got to flick between pages on recommendations and then the actual applications. Thank you.
That's it.
This one is the Glen Apartment and Macduff Tower at Lauderdale Apartments, Kinnaird Castle, Brechin, and Claire Penman and Jonathan Dimmock. And they're both here, are they?
Yep.
Would you like to? Oh, they're online now.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Claire or Jonathan, would you like to talk to your application?
Hi there. We had a recommendation to basically for the water testing, so that has now been done. So we're led to believe we've done everything that we're meant to do, and it's satisfactory as well.
Yeah, environmental health. Can you just advise us if everything's up to scratch?
Certainly, convener. Yes, we're happy with the water test results for this one as well.
Thank you very much. Councillor Scott, you have a question.
Well, sorry, it wasn't really a question. I was just going to give a comment saying that everything
Comment,
seems to
fine.
be... Is that okay? Everything seems to be in order, so we'd move to grant.
Councillor Braze. Okay, with that then we'll go to the recommendations. Sorry, no? Yep. Recommendations, and again they are to grant the application, 2, grant the application subject to standard or any additional conditions, or 3, to refuse the application on one or more of the grounds referred to in paragraph 5. Councillor Scott, is it number 2 to grant the application subject to the standard conditions?
Yes, convener, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? No? Okay, we're unanimous. Thank you very much for that. We will move now to item D. Page number. Oh, here. And this one is Croft End Cottage and Claypots Cottage and Clover Cottage at Glen Isla. The applicant, Lady Una Ivory. Let's have a look. Do we have Lady Ivory in the meeting? I don't see online. No. Okay.
The latest updates in the papers anyway.
Yeah. Members will have read the papers. I believe there's still an outstanding issue on the water. Could environmental health maybe update us on that if there's anything new?
Yeah, that's fine, convener. Just this week, we received notification from the applicant that they had discovered a section of lead piping, which they hope to begin works on this week to replace. Once that's been replaced, we will get back out and resample and hopefully after that it should comply.
Something out with our legal colleagues. Yeah, there still appears to be an outstanding issue with the lead piping. Normally, I suppose what we would do would look for a deferral, but we've already had a deferral on this one, and it doesn't appear to offer it in the recommendations. A possibility, I suppose, would be that we grant the application subject to the standard conditions plus an additional condition that we would add about the lead piping. Do people feel that that's okay? Yeah, and I'm getting a thing here that we should maybe put a time frame on it as well, which probably is quite a good idea, so it doesn't go on for a long. If we go along that route, then if we were agreed on that, can someone suggest a suitable time scale? I mean,
you might want to speak to
30 days.
all right, yeah.
to see what they, you know.
Yeah. Environmental health, would you be able to maybe guide us on that, on a possible time scale, a reasonable time scale?
It's a little bit more complicated, convener. If the area of a is replaced and it does have the desired effect, then it will be done in a couple of weeks. However, it could be resampled, and there's other lead that they haven't identified, which will mean more investigations, and it won't comply with the provisions of the regs. So it's a wee bit more complicated than just saying replacing that and it will definitely comply after that. It may not.
What about then if we said we would grant it subject to the condition that it passes all tests relating to...
That's a standard condition anyway.
That's a standard condition. Councillor Gregg.
Thank you. A question for Mr McQueen. If we were to refuse it, there's nothing to stop them coming back reapplying, is there, once they've completed all the works?
I think there actually might be a year time frame on that. We'll have that with the usual civic ones. If an application has been refused, you can't submit a further application within a year. If it's worth highlighting, that this application is one of the ones that were submitted prior to the cut-off date back in 23, and certainly all the required information has been requested on a number of occasions, not just this application, but all the ones that have been deferred. And the risk that we have is that if it's not determined, then there would be a deemed grant. And what we're actually talking about here is public safety is your key factor that you need to take into consideration.
Councillor Whiteside, did you want to come in?
I was just going to suggest before that that latest advice that we grant subject to the lead piping being replaced and all water testing being carried out satisfactorily, but I don't know if that's actually considered adequate.
Councillor Scott?
Thanks, convener. I was just probably going to say that I don't think we've got any other option than to refuse, to be fair.
I think I would probably agree. So are you making that as the motion, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And seconded by Councillor Gregg. Any amendment to that? No. It's unfortunate, but I think we appear to be agreed unanimously that in this case we will have to refuse the application. Sorry, but that's probably it, isn't it? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item E. which is Bog Cottage, West Lednathy, Glen Prosen. And we have Pamela Dougal with us. Pamela.
Any remote attendees that have had their application dealt with, Mr Dimmick, I don't know if you just want to leave the meeting. You can follow the meeting on the live stream if you do wish to continue to watch the meeting.
Hi. Yeah, since the last meeting, Alex Gilligan's been out and tested the water for each individual property, and all satisfactory, which I sent forward on Monday, the 11th. So I think that's everything.
Check with environmental health. Are we happy on everything? You're getting your work today, Martin?
I certainly am, convener. Yeah, we're content that everything complies now with this one.
Thank you. Councillor Braze.
Well, I just moved the grant then.
Subject
to the standard conditions.
And seconded, I take it by Councillor Gregg. Move to the recommendations, and they are the same again: to grant the application subject to standard, additional, and 3, which we to refuse the application of one or more of the grounds referred to in paragraph 5. And we've had a proposal of 2, and it's been seconded. Are there any amendments to that? No? Okay, agreed unanimously. Thank you. Takes us to F, which is Glasslit Cottage, Glen Clover, and David Fairley. Hello, David.
We had down that was taken.
Okay, David, would you like to talk to the board?
Yeah, good morning. I was in here on, I think it was the 26th or something of September, about an EICR which had needed to be renewed. So it got deferred until today. It has been completed, and I sent that to Brogan, and she confirmed that she had received it.
Thank you very much. I won't bother Martin again, because you can see it says here that Environmental Health confirmed that they have now no comments or observations to make, so I think we're happy with that. Councillor Stewart.
Thanks, convener. I move that we just agree this standard to the subject, the standard conditions.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Whiteside. So with that, there's no other amendments to that? No. We'll move to the recommendations. Grant the application. 2, grant the application subject to standard or any additional conditions. Refuse the application on one or more of the grounds. And I think what we are putting forward is to grant the application subject to standard conditions. Yeah? Okay, are we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. We'll move now to item... Yeah. Councillor Melville's just leaving us for this item. And item 7 is short-term. Sorry about that. This is Hideaway Cottage, 46 Kinloch Street, Carnoustie, and it's George Charles. Do we have George Charles?
Here, it's George Charles and Julia. Do you want to come forward? His wife's attending in person and.
Okay. Okay, Julia, welcome. If you press your mic if you want to
Hi, morning. I have a little statement here. So we have the application for Hideaway Cottage for a short-term licence. We received an objection letter, so we've written out some replies to those objections. So I want to start by thanking the committee for the opportunity to give this statement. I want to make it clear that although we have an application for a short-term licence, my family and I hope to spend a lot of time in the cottage ourselves. One of the driving reasons for purchasing that was the kind of neighbourly feel to the area and spending some time there with our family. We appreciate that holiday lets can cause controversy and people who live around can object. I want to give assurance that we're taking part in the community very seriously, and even in our absence or when used by the public, we really do take our responsibilities seriously. So we appreciate the strong feelings of the objector, so I just thought I would address each point that she had. So the public notice of display and notice. So our cottage is situated at the end of an alley, so we couldn't display it on the house. So we displayed the notice on the 30-mile-an-hour sign, but I had it laminated, and there's a wall where the house is beside the sign. So I kind of used the low wall to help me tie it with cable ties. I had to actually call my husband to help me. I'm so impractical. So I left the sign, once I got it all tied, I just left it at the low wall. I thought it was perfect there. I'd seen the golf notice for parkings all there. So I just never thought to pull it up. It was really obvious. So I can only apologise if she thought it was too low. She then, quite rightly, thinks about her security. So we have, the cottage is located down a shared access lane. The pathway is the direct route for the 2 semi-detached cottages. And the lady who's objected is the one that's on the street. She's not the semi-detached. The guests will have to walk down the alley. We feel there's no more intrusion than various people walking along Kinloch Street. Her property is situated on the street. We have considered the installation of a security light at the boundary of our property, which would perhaps light up the alley a little more. We'd be happy to do this should the committee feel it's appropriate. Another objection was that the Kinloch Care Centre is adjacent to our property, but there have been no objections from them. In the 2 years that we've been renovating the cottage, we've not seen any residents in this area. There's only a couple of kind of windows back onto the alley. We don't believe there's any problem with access or anything regarding that. Regarding parking, our guests will be limited to 4, and we assume that there'll normally only be a requirement for 1 car, which would be parked on the street, which would be the same as if we were there and living there. Our family have stayed there, and we've been there, obviously renovating it, and we've always been able to park on the street, but there is a car park 2 minutes away, and we would tell the guests that. So we purchased the property in order to enjoy holidays and weekends in Carnoustie, which is an hour's drive from our home. I actually own a holiday cottage in Lawrencekirk, where we live, so we can't stay there, and it's been really successful. The demographic of the people who are booking it are a kind of middle-aged or older couple with a dog. So, there's not single-sex parties or stag or hen parties. It's just a couple renting a cottage with a dog. I would imagine, we actually pride ourselves that we provide a home from home. We've got lots of lovely reviews. I understand Ms Scanlon's initial fears about noise. However, our guests in Lawrencekirk have almost exclusively, as I say, been couples. We have had nothing but great feedback from guests and no issues with noise or neighbours feeling unsafe. In fact, guests have commented how friendly our neighbours have been. And I don't envisage Hideaway being any different, except maybe they'll go to the golf. Our plan is to manage the bookings ourselves, so we'll be in control of vetting the guests. As I say, we bought the cottage for ourselves in order to experience the community. And I understand her concerns about losing that community feel, but hopefully, you know, we've got 5 adult children and we hope to use it ourselves and use all the facilities in Carnoustie, cafes, restaurants, shops, etc. We look forward to be able to get to know our neighbours. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. With that, I will ask members if they have any questions they would like to ask. No? Any comments? Councillor Whiteside, and then Councillor Gregg.
Thanks, Convener. I think we've seen quite a few short-term lets applications come before us because there's been objections, but I think if we listen to objections based on possible future bad behaviour, we wouldn't be able to grant any of them. I don't think that's a valid reason. I think we've got quite a lot of reassurance from the applicant today, so I personally don't think there's any grounds for refusal in this instance.
Thank you. Councillor Gregg.
Thank you, Convener. Along similar lines as Councillor Whiteside, I mean, when it comes to short-term lets, I think every time we have an objection, it's going to be about the potential of something happening, as Councillor Whiteside has said. And from hearing to the applicant, I haven't heard any evidence of that. I do know everything that's within the objection, and I thank them for putting that in. But I think in this instance, I'd be happy to go with granting as well.
Any other questions or comments from members? No? Okay, with that then we'll move to the recommendations, which are 1, being satisfied that the notice was not displayed in accordance with the statutory requirements to require the applicant to display the notice to require the applicant to display the notice again for a period of 21 days beginning with such a date as they may specify, or 2, to grant the application, or 3, to grant the application subject to standard or any other additional conditions, or 4, to defer the application for a period of not exceeding 6 months from the date of the application, or 5, to refuse the application on one or more of the grounds referred to in paragraph 5. Now, we've already had a proposal that we grant the application subject to any standard conditions, and we've got a seconder as well in Councillor Gregg. Are we all agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much. Unanimously agreed. We can move on to item 8, short-term lets.
Lloyd.
Oh yes, sorry. We'll leave them out there already. Welcome back, Councillor Melville. I almost forgot about you. We're on to item 8, which is page 30 of the papers. A short-term licensing policy. And I think on this one you want?
I can do.
Yeah, please.
Yep, thank you, Convener. Members will see from the papers that this is an update or a revised policy in terms of the short-term let applications and determinations. Scottish Government introduced new legislation recently. Very, very short course, and we're just trying to play a bit of catch-up on that to put in place the new processes and the necessary changes to the policy. In the appendices, you'll see the revised one, but also a track change so that you know where the changes have been made. And really, it's a matter for committee to look at that and hopefully approve the amendments. There's also an additional one in terms of fees. Part of the changes are introducing provisional confirmation and transfer processes, and we've proposed what we consider to be appropriate fees in respect of that. So we draw your attention to that and recommendation 4.
Yeah, just to re-emphasise that this is a change in legislation. It's not something that we're doing for the sake of it. Are there any questions from members? Any comments? Councillor Melville.
Yeah, thank you, convener. Short-term lets and regulation thereof obviously has become quite a big part of this committee since that legislation was passed. At practically every juncture on this committee and on others that have dealt with this kind of thing, I've made clear that my own view is that we need to prioritise the right balance between short-term holiday and other accommodation, as well as long-term homes for people who need it. I think we are striking the right balance. I think this policy helps us to ensure that short-term lets that are operating in Angus are safe, are well regulated and done so in a responsible manner. So I thank the officers for all the work they've put into this.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move to the recommendations, which are 1. Note the terms of the updated Scottish Government guidance in relation to short-term lets. 2. Note the terms of the short-term lets policy statement, application forms as amended, outlined in Appendix 1. Or 3. Identify any further amendments that are required to be made to the policy and or application forms, and thereafter agree the revised version of the short-term lets policy statement and the application form. 4. Approve the fees for the provision, confirmation and transfer processes for a short-term lets as outlined in Appendix 3. Councillor Whiteside.
Thanks, convener. I would move that we agree recommendations 1, 2 and 4. I don't think there's any need to identify any further amendments.
Seconded by Councillor Melville. Sorry, seconded by Councillor Melville. No amendments to that from anyone. Therefore, are we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 9. We'll just catch up. I believe it's 148. This is a renewal application, residential caravan site, nursery park caravan site, Brechin. And we have Michael Delaney.
Yes, Councillor.
Welcome, Michael. Would you like to talk to the committee regarding the application?
Yes, please. As you might be well aware, this site was obtained by me in very big distress, and we've been doing lots and lots of renovations, and we will be ongoing with many renovations over the next couple of years. We've tried to get everything as soon as possible, and it's hopefully in order at the moment. And we will be undergoing many more renovations over the years to get it up to high standards, and we really would like to have it to maybe 3-4 star at least. At the moment it's not even a 1 star, but we're trying our best at the moment.
Thank you very much. I note that there's comments from building standards. Do we have someone from building standards that might want to comment? Lee?
Yes, hi, convener. Yes, you'll see we've made comments in the papers, but if I could give members some additional background information in relation to our comments, it might be helpful. So in June this year, during consultation on the transfer of licence application, it was noted that there appeared to be an additional caravan stance being installed at the premises, where this stance includes wastewater drainage, building warrant consent and completion certificate acceptance is required for the wastewater drainage. The applicant was advised at that time that a late application for building warrant was required and work should cease on site until this is applied for and granted. To date, nothing has been received and we are unaware of what caravan stances and drainage exist to date or what is being applied for under this application. So In July 2024, this year, building standards were similarly consulted on this current application for renewal of the residential caravan site licence. The required basic information in order for us to be consulted on, the layout plan, among other submissions, was not provided at that time. I discussed this with the licensing board, with licensing, sorry, and was advised to return comments to state we were unable to provide a consultation response. In October, we returned comments to licensing again, confirming we still require the plan at the very minimum for us to carry out our role as a consultee. Unfortunately, to date, no layout plan has been received, and therefore we've still been unable to provide any response to the application.
Thank you very much for that, Lee. Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, we are very unsure of what the plans are at the moment, and we're trying to get advice on that. So we're hoping to move forward with that in the near future.
A note, there's also a comment from Environmental Health. Do we have any comments? Martin?
Thanks, Convener. We did request some extra information from the applicant. We're content now that we've received everything we need to receive for this one.
Thank you very much for that. With to questions from members. Councillor Whiteside.
Thanks, Convener. Just clarification, really. Building standards are saying that they still have an incomplete application. They don't have the information they need to grant the licence. So I don't think we've got much choice here. Can I get clarification on that?
Can someone clarify, please? Lee, can you? I know you've
yes,
already. Yeah, on you go.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because, you know, we are a statutory consultee, and my understanding under these applications is our purpose is to determine whether it's a fit and proper person.
Sorry, Lee, can you go again?
If works are being carried out or have been carried out without consent, that is an offence.
Sorry, Lee, you broke up there. I wonder if you could repeat that. From the beginning.
Apologies, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so, yeah, no problem. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a difficult situation because my understanding is our purpose for a residential site application is to determine whether it's a fit or proper person, and in doing so, the question asked of us is whether the applicant or the business in question has committed an offence. In this case, we have been aware that works are ongoing, and we don't actually know what's being applied for under this licence because there are no plans. So we don't know if there's 5 stances or 25 stances, or if the additional stances have been added or not.
Thank you for that. I'll move to Councillor Nicholl.
Thank you, Convener. I would suggest that the applicant should be taking professional advice and trying to comply with the building standards and building control, and because these have to be met before any permissions can be given. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll bring in Councillor Durno.
Yeah, that's good. Being similar to Councillor Nicholl, I think maybe the applicant maybe wants to talk to some other caravan site owners and maybe get a gist of what he actually has to put together so that he can get the relevant documents, etc. Because obviously we can't advise on things he has to do. He has to go to an outside body and get all his plans laid out, and then he can get his application sorted. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Gregg.
Thank you, Convener. Looking at the recommendations, there's not really much there. So can I just double check with Mr McQueen that if we were to opt to refuse that application, would that be for a 12-month period before they're able to reapply again?
This is different legislation. It's under a different act, so no, that doesn't apply across here. That's the civic legislation. This is under the caravan.
Bring in Councillor Braze.
Yeah, well, actually, I've got the clarification I wanted. If we were so minded, we can refuse this today and they can bring forward a new application anytime they like when they've got their ducks lined up. So, okay, thanks.
Having heard the comments, would you like to say anything else before we look at the recommendations?
Yes, there was an issue with the extra parking that was made. We are in the process of trying to get the plans for, like, they told me I just got to get a site plan and so on. So we're actually in the process of trying to do that. As it seems to be very difficult to get anything, I would really like some advice and some people to put me in the right direction so we can move forward in getting everything up to standards.
Okay, thank you for that. I think with that, so Greg, no, with that we'll move to the recommendations, which are 1, to grant the application, 2, to grant the application subject to amended and/or additional conditions, or 3, to refuse the application. Councillor Gregg.
Thank you, Convener. Yeah, I propose that we refuse the application.
Thank you. Do you have a second there? Councillor Melville. Any amendments to that? No? Okay. I take it we're unanimous then, that we're going for recommendation 3 to refuse the application. What I would suggest is that you need to maybe talk to some people in Angus Council, but you also need to get yourself some professional advice. That way the professionals will keep you right on what you've actually got to provide or what you've got to do to get through the process of the application. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. That moves us on to item 10 on page, I think it's 154.
Yep.
A renewal application, residential caravan site, Teok Caravan Park, Brecon Road, Montrose. And we have
the agent, James Wright.
Agent James Wright. James, are you hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay, if you'd like to present to the committee, thank you.
Thank you, Convener. I'm speaking on behalf of the licence holder for Teok Caravan Park. And firstly, they'd like to apologise for the confusion at the previous meeting. I've set out the steps they've now taken since this meeting and the subsequent notice being served in my letter, which is Appendix 3 to this report, with the only remaining matter being 5 of the distances between caravans. I note in Appendix 2, the Council's Environmental Services have confirmed that the caravans are inherently fire resistant, which does allow the application of a reduction in spacings down to 5 metres. 3 of the spacings meet this 5 metre distance, and the 2 remaining ones only fall short of this distance by 15 and 25 centimetres respectively, which is not considered to result in creating an unacceptable space between units. The licence holder would therefore respectfully request that the committee allows this reduction in spacings on that basis, noting that the pitches have been in place since at least 1984 and are for residential park homes. As our letter has been included in full as Appendix 3, I do not wish to repeat myself any further, but would be happy to try and clarify any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. A note that there are comments from Environmental Health, which we will have read. I don't think there's anything new on that to ask Environmental Health. Building standards, no further comments, so I think no point in really bringing building standards in. Do members have any questions? Councillor Melville.
It's a point of legal clarity, actually. In terms of the sort of relaxation of those, we do have the discretion to do that, do we?
Yes, you do.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Melville.
Well, following that, I think given the assurances that we've had from Mr Wright, both in his verbal and written statements, then I would propose that we grant this subject to the standard conditions. Yes, however, amended with the distances with those 5 remaining stances.
Councillor Braze.
I would second that.
Thank you very much. I think the condition that we were thinking about was that when anyone leaves the caravan, is that correct, that the distances would then be corrected to what was required? Excellent. So just for clarity, the recommendation 2 to grant the application subject to amended or additional conditions. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, any other? No? Okay, are we agreed unanimously? Thank you, and thank you very much, Mr Wright. Thank you. Takes us on to item 11 on page 163. Sorry.
The agent can attend if there's any issues,
right.
But he does have funeral today.
Okay. So we do have a letter from the agent which has been circulated to members. So are there any questions on this application? Or are there any comments on this application? Councillor Melville.
Yes, thanks, Convener. There is a need for this kind of premises for late hours, for late shift and emergency service workers, and also people who have to travel through the night. Previously, the committee's been very generous with this type of late hours licence in the past, and I think we should apply that same standard in this case, and if there's any issues, that will come back before us anyway. So I see no issues with it at all, and I would move the grant.
Councillor Whiteside.
I would second that.
Are there any other amendments? Or no? Well, with that, then we. Yeah, we've got the recommendations, which are 1 to grant the application, 2 to grant the application subject to standard or any additional conditions, 3 to defer the application for a period not exceeding 6 months, and 4 to refuse the application or one or more of the grounds in paragraph 4. Now we have a motion to grant under the standard and or other conditions, and we have a seconder. Are we all agreed? Thank you. Move on now to item 12, page 167.
Councillor Stewart's going to leave.
Yep, and we have Councillor Stewart leaving the meeting for the remainder. Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Okay, item 12, review of variation, material change in circumstances fee for charities. Yes, please, if you can maybe just give us a brief intro.
Thanks, Convener. Yes, members will see from the report that the new fee structure was approved by this committee in March and agreed a new charge of £75 for processing an application for a variation or material change in circumstances. We've been approached by a number of charities who hold public entertainment licences. They already enjoy a discounted rate, and in effect the £75 variation fee is disproportionate, so we're proposing that we adopt a similar approach and have a reduced fee for registered charities, which I think equates to 25% of the full fee.
Any questions or comments on this? No? I think it sounds very reasonable. So we move to the recommendations. There are two, 1 and 2, and I think it's both of them. Do we agree to 1 and 2? Agreed. Thank you very much. We'll now stop the live stream for the next items.
John, could you stop?